Oh, my goodness. Folks, how are you? Welcome back to another Ask Us Anything call here with LifterLMS. Our goal every week, we come and sit with you folks for a bit. We let you ask some questions. We try to answer them. Sometimes we refer you to support, but by and large, I think we do a pretty good job of keeping things moving here. So my name is Kurt Von Onen. I'm here with Magic Emily Middleton. Emily is phenomenal and does like tons of screen shares, custom development, all kinds of stuff. Works under the guise of WP Course Guide. So if you're looking to reach out to Emily directly, that would be wpcourseguide.com. And I am at manananomas.com. So I thought I'd get that out of the way real quick. As we jump into today's Ask Us Anything call, a couple of things. One, we do have a free core plugin. So free, that's like a very operative word, free. And it's very full. Like the free platform from Lifter is full of features. But if you want to start selling your courses, or if you want to start having groups or advanced quizzes, you're going to want to look at our add-ons. If that's the case, we have a 55% off coupon for you. Go to lifterlms.com/AMA-gift. Again, that's lifterlms.com/AMA-gift. And we encourage you to go ahead and ask your questions in the chat. So I might leave that ticker running for a little bit to make sure that we get people to come in and comment. But that's the magic. We are, I think we're on LinkedIn, YouTube, X right now. We put a replay up on Facebook every week. So if you missed something during the call or something that you wanted to note, just go to the Facebook page for LifterLMS, and you'll see the replay generally goes up about 45 minutes after this call finishes. So we've got that covered. We've got a couple of comments and a couple of folks with us. Welcome, Delphine, to the call. Great to have you here from Canada. Richard, I'm going to say Kwan. I think it's Richard Kwan. From Southern California. Richard, I just moved to Kansas from Southern California. I like to tell people that I escaped California. Let me know where in Southern California you are. I was in Corona and lived in Corona for about 7 years. And the mountain biking, I got to say, is the one thing that I really kind of miss. Emily will tell you I was mountain biking all the time in Southern California. I mean, I was hitting Santiago Oaks, Greer, what was that place? The San Juan something, or it was up over Lake Elsinore. From Lake Elsinore, you would go up over the hill, and there was that big, I want to say it was called San Juan. Oh, Richard Kwan in Riverside. My daughter used to skate at Icetown. She was one of the ice skating coaches at Icetown in Riverside. So, and you guys got the chicken place there. What's that? Oh my goodness. Not Popeye's chicken. I'm thinking Raising Cane's chicken. That Raising Cane's chicken is good. And the Ortega Highway. Yeah. The mountain biking off the Ortega Highway is pretty phenomenal. So thanks for taking me down memory lane there, Richard. Matthew, welcome to the call. It says here, looks like I don't think this should be a problem. Just bought the Universe bundle and have worked through the walkthroughs. The only issue is putting our logo in the header of the pages. That's probably not a problem to show, Matthew. A lot of it's going to depend, just quite honestly, on your setup, right? So LifterLMS typically adapts to the theme of your website. And so if you've got a header in place as part of your website's theme or template, or however we want to phrase that, you should be able to adjust that header to include an icon, a logo, and a menu at the top of each page. And so it may have something to do with what template you have assigned to your course and lesson pages. That's something that Emily can probably help us with here. And I want to encourage other people, if you've got any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, to go ahead and kick them to us. Emily, what's going on for you this week? Anything special?
I am back home and I'm just like getting adjusted, being back here, integrating the last few weeks of traveling into my daily life and figuring out kind of what I want to dive into next. So I'm looking at some new client projects, and I'm looking at how I can invest my time back into my business when I'm doing client work. So like if I do an hour client work, I want to do an hour of work on my own services, just stuff like that. Holistic practices that I'm looking at to be like, how can I level things out? How can I get things off to a good start now that I'm back? That's what I'm up
Yeah.
to.
I think one of the hardest things about what you and I do is, like, for instance, I'm on like 5 podcasts a week. And then, I try to help people best I can in the LifterLMS space. And then, I work with WP Tonic. And so realistically, you're doing all these things and it's hard. It's like they say, never buy a mechanic's car, right? Because he never got to fix his own car. He was busy working on everyone else's car. I recently, because I had a little bit of downtime, I jumped in and got pretty serious about looking at AI and some other tools like Etch, because, as you know, I'm trying to get proficient at Etch. But I asked AI, like, hey, examine these web properties that are mine and advise me of any glaring omissions or anything I could use to help, promote these projects. And it was kind of amazing, all the stuff that popped out of it. I mean, it was like, some of it was nonsense, but some of it was like, oh, crud, that's really smart. I probably should have done that 2 years ago. So like this last week, AI said you should have a tripwire sales thing built on at first it said, on a white paper or something like that, like a lead magnet. But then I turned it into a mini course because we have Lifter. And so I said, well, I have LifterLMS. I'm going to make that a mini course. And then it said, oh, let's go through that. And then it said, this is where you should put your upsells. This is where here's a button, pre-designed a button. So you can add this button for the upsell, paste these 5 emails into an email sequence. It was interesting. I did that for my Power Sport Academy experiment this week. And I started promoting that product that AI advised me to make. And, it's kind of crazy. I'm just going to say it. My web traffic is up like 30% this week. Right. And
That's
so
awesome.
if that web traffic has any level of conversion, it's a super low dollar entry point, but it has a tripwire sale set up so that they move to $197 a month on subscription. So, 5 people do that. That's another $1,000 a month for a couple days work. It's just interesting the way things go. Like when you open yourself up and you go, hey, what would this really look like if I really did embrace this idea? I'm a little cautious because, like I said, there was some stuff it recommended that I thought was kind of silly. But the stuff that it did recommend, I was like, okay, let's do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been trying to do similar thing to what my clients are hiring me to do. So if we're working on logo design, I'll work on my own logo. Or if we're, like you said, building a lead magnet, I'll work on building a lead magnet. Just kind of whatever I'm hired to work on, I'll try to work on within my own business with my own hours post.
Yeah. It's been like super interesting in that way. It's because I feel like I still go through that hypocritical thing, right? Where I go, I have customers that try and tell me, oh, I developed this in AI and I think we should just implement this. And I'm super cautious. I'm like, I just can't go plugging stuff into your website because you vibe coded something. Like that's not how this works. But I think I'm being pretty transparent in the idea that it's not that I vibe coded something. It's that I asked it, hey, what am I missing? And it said, well, these are the kind of things you're missing. So those are things that we can develop, right? And then I went out and did the research with AI and developed those tools. And then I added those tools and implemented those tools. I didn't create a new plugin via AI to replace an existing tool or plugin, right? So I think it's, I don't know. I go back to, I'm more of an implementer than an inventor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. So let's see. We've got a couple of questions that are starting to roll in, and we've got one from Delphine. Actually, I think we've got a couple from Delphine that came in on the registration list, right, on the form. So let's jump into one of Delphine's first. She says, "I have a lot to learn. How do you transfer course lessons and quizzes from development to production?" I'm going to tell you, this one kind of threw me a little bit, right? Unless the course is in draft status and then we publish the course. I mean, is that what you're interpreting from the question?
Maybe it could also be that they have a staging website or development website and they're building the courses on that platform and then looking to bring them over to the other website.
Yeah, there's a little bit of clarification here and a follow-up. So let me put this in, and I'll put in clarify with Delphine. So let's throw this up on the screen here. It says, to clarify my original question, we are live, right? So we are updating our course and quizzes. We do not wish to interrupt the present students when we make the changes, when we move the course material over to production from development. So I think, like, if you're adding lessons and someone's already been through the course, I don't think there's an issue there.
Right.
If you're changing the quiz, someone takes the quiz and passes it, and then someone new on a different account takes the quiz that's been updated, they both get results. It doesn't interfere with the students.
Yeah. And so if someone, if someone's passed section 3 and you start modifying section 3 by adding lessons, I believe what would happen is that their course progress, technically, let's say they finish the entire course and you start adding stuff to lesson 3, I think their course progress cuts below 100%. So if they look at their dashboard, it might say like 90% done. But since they've already completed the course, they'll already retain whatever certificates they'd already had. So if they're past the point where you're editing, like if you're editing section 3 and your student's on lesson 4 or section 4, they'll just keep going. And unless you have a triggered engagement that says when you complete a course, because maybe if you have to complete the entire course, I'm in section 4 and there's 5 sections. Once I get to the end of section 5, it's not going to let me complete the course. It's going to be like, wait, there's a new thing in section 3 that you didn't see when you passed through. They would have to go back and complete that section 3. So like if you added one lesson or something. But if you change a quiz on an existing lesson, this student would have already passed that quiz and already have moved on. I can explain it further if that doesn't make sense, but that's kind of how it works with Lifter.
Yeah. If we're going to get more finite in the discussion about it, I can remember when I was the corporate trainer in, for a large corporation, right? There's certain rules in corporate training, things that you could, like, everyone's always worried about getting sued, right? So the legal department's always like, we have to make sure that we offer each student the same opportunity to learn as every other student, right? And so, like, I had to have a curriculum. Each workshop I gave had to work on a certain curriculum, like, because people couldn't attend the October workshops and get one level of training, and then people that went to the November workshop got a whole different level of training. Like things had to be reasonable. So I understand how some people that are running like a large corporate training site and they're worried about the legalities of extra features added to a course or something like that. In that case, what you can do is you can clone your course that you're developing. So you clone it, but you don't assign anyone to it and you don't any of that. And it just becomes like version 2.0. You make all the changes, the additions and all that, and then you can activate that course as one that people log into and that you sell or that you assign people to. And the old course, the pre-existing students, the grandfathered students, they're still enrolled in that old course and they can finish that course and get their certificate and all that fun stuff. But all the new people would be assigned to the new course with its upgrades and its updates. That's typically what you see in like continuing education cohort kind of stuff. Like when there's updates to an existing curriculum, a lot of times they'll clone the course, make the additions, and then at a certain date, anyone that signs up January 1st and after gets the new course. Anyone that was prior to January 1st is grandfathered in on the old course and finishes that out, and that sort of certification is good for the next year or whatever. So maybe that's more of the question that's being asked that we're not really seeing. Could be it. Can we jump back to Matthew's question? Because I don't want to forget it and then have somebody be angry with us.
Yeah.
Just bought the Universe bundle, worked through the walkthroughs. The only issue is putting the logo in the header of the pages. Matthew, if you could follow up with us and let us know what theme you're in, that would be awesome. It says here you're using SkyPilot, so I'm doing the same thing as Richard. Matthew Price. Yep. Okay. So using SkyPilot. So let's take a look at SkyPilot. SkyPilot is a full site editing theme. Emily will pull that up. We have demo sites for this stuff. And you are able to create templates and adjust templates in SkyPilot using full site editing.
Yeah. I can share.
And I'll be right back to you.
Boop. I'm doing the same thing as Richard. Yeah, so in the SkyPilot theme, I can give you a little bit of an overview and then cut into any specific questions. In SkyPilot, we're using the editor, which I have been teaching people about this week. It is a bit different from the customizer, something you may have seen in Astra or Cadence or themes of the past is the customizer as a main feature, and now we have this, which is called the editor. It functions very similarly, but the settings are in a little bit of different places. Richard says, also the quizzes are graded and scored with record retention, and perhaps a certificate is generated. So quizzes are graded and a score is recorded, and perhaps a certificate is generated. LifterLMS out of the box in all versions works with certificates. That's been in there for years, so that's going to be good on any version. The quizzes are graded and scored. Yeah, so quizzes being graded and scored and certificates being issued are a part of the LifterLMS core plugin. We can talk about that here in a second. I wanted to get to the core of the SkyPilot question. Do you know, Kurt, like exactly what we're trying to drill into as a part of our tutorial here?
Well, it was adding a logo to the header.
Oh, okay. So adding a logo to your header is probably going to be a pattern, a header pattern. And then this is the header I have on my website. So you can see I have only one header right now. You might have multiple headers. You could build multiple, but you can also edit your header when you're working with a template that includes that header. So if I was editing my full width page template, let me jump in. You can either edit that individual header component in the patterns section, or when we're editing a template that includes that header, we can simply open it up with our little navigator here, document overview, and then get into this space. So let's figure out, this row has My Academy. Let's say we want to swap My Academy out with a logo. What we would do, I'm just going to chop this off. We don't need this anymore. We're going to come in here. We're going to put a logo. Site logo. Now, I don't know if I have a logo chosen. I use these little arrow keys to move this little guy around. We'll add from our media library. Our logo could be this, LifterLMS logo. Let that load in. And there we go. So we have a logo installed. And you can see the block I used was called site logo. There's not like a huge difference if you want to use just an image block. It's like, well, what if I used an image block here instead of site logo? That's also doable. But then the nice thing about the site logo block is that over here, it just gives you some easy options, assuming that you're using a site logo of like, do we want to link the image to the home page? That's not a setting that you usually get on an image because it's not usually thinking that it's going to be a logo. And so it also allows us to use this as our site icon. So you can see the icon in the upper corner here. I think you can see that. Can you see? Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can see it.
This little blue icon just shifted because I selected use it as my site icon.
Yeah, and so that's typically, so people that used older themes, that would be normally in the customizer under site identity.
Yeah. Yeah, and so now we have a new place to modify that. But editing the header wherever you can edit it, either individually or where it appears in one of your templates, is going to be what you do there.
Yeah, it's so weird because I can remember both of us being so excited when full site editing came out and we got access to SkyPilot and started playing. It was like Christmas. It was like new presents. And then there was like this space, and I don't know if it's the same. I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for you, Emily, because I think you're still an enthusiast. But there was this space where we went like, "Holy crap, this full site editing sucks." and then over time, WordPress, they made some changes to the full site editing interface, and there were some gaps and a short code mess on the sidebars, and there was all kinds of stuff that just kind of went cattywampus for a little while. But I would say in the last year, it's gotten pretty dang simple. I don't want to say easy, but I think it's gotten pretty simple now to get in and try and just play and poke around inside full site editing and make changes. And what I really like is that if you want to create, I have a SkyPilot site myself. And just yesterday, I was like, man, my checkout page looks like crap because it was adopting the same layout as other pages. And I thought, I want to have more control over the width of it. I want it to be more like a form instead of like a giant page with fields on it. And so I just logged in, created a new template, applied that template to the checkout page. Bob's your uncle, fixed. And it took like 6 or 7 minutes. So I think full site editing is super cool. It's a little bit different. So if you're used to working in the customizer, now you work in the site editor and you see things in a different way, especially where Emily was working with the navigation. Playing with navigation the old way through the dashboard is frustrating because you don't see the changes on the page. You actually have to go through the site editor to affect changes on the main navigation. So it's just things to get used to. But, oh, well, thanks, Matthew. Matthew says, "This is awesome!" Awesome sauce. All right. So I'll shut up now about the full site editor. Let's go back up. Let's make sure I'm not missing things. And thank you, everybody, for getting active in the chat, because the more active you are, the easier it is for Emily and I to keep this thing moving. And so Compass Rose Consulting. Hey, just building a new course and using some of the lessons from another course, which I cloned. Okay, very cool. But also wondered if there's a way to have them sync, so updating one updates both. I think this can get into some complicated conversation, I think, Emily. Is there a possibility, just bear with me on this, and I'm sure you're either going to tell me I'm right or that I'm stupid. People have asked me this before, and I haven't done it myself. So now I'm like, okay, I probably should just do it. I could make a lesson, and in that lesson, I have a block. I could make that block a reusable block that's synced, right? And then if I clone that lesson is synced with the original lesson, so that if I change the original lesson, it changes all the lessons that use that block. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a client that wanted to do something like that. All of their courses, though, and this is interesting, all of their lessons, not courses, all of their lessons were using video, and the video was populated through bunny.net and Presto Player. And if you use Presto Player correctly, all of those features are synced anyway. And so there's different instances, like there's different reasons to do different things. In the instance with video and using bunny.net and Presto Player to put the content into the lessons, I preferred that because the interface to find things in Presto Player to me is very simple. Like if I've got 200 videos but they're all in the Presto Player menu, and they're all synced to multiple instances of those lessons. If I make a change to that, if I update the video in that Presto Player folder file, however we want to say that, if I update that Presto Player post with an updated video, it changes the video everywhere that video is embedded within the website. So for me, that was my answer to that concern, that problem at that point in time. But then if I'm talking to a client that's not using exclusively video, but they have actual assets, actual print and image and the whole thing, well, then we could do the reusable blocks thing or create patterns, synced patterns. But your pattern library could get very convoluted and very messy pretty quickly if you went that way. So I just want to encourage you to get ahead of the curve, think forwardly through it, and figure out, what do I need to create subfolders in my pattern library? Or, how do you want to organize this? Because if you have a very large project, this could get very messy, especially if you don't name your assets or name your reusable synced assets correctly. Does that make sense, Emily? Did I go crazy?
No, that makes sense. I think when you get into creating what are known now as just patterns, or previously known as reusable blocks, you can have the option to give your own items a name. Then the little blocks that you create, whether they're reusable or not, you can give them your own name, and you enter the same problem as a CRM when a new person gets into using a CRM email list tool, and then they're given access to automations and flows and tags, and they just start naming things willy-nilly without a strategy for how they're naming things. They might not give their tags enough clarity. They might create multiple maybe patterns that have the same name, and then they're confused later about which one is which. So I really think having a good convention for that's important.
Yeah, naming conventions are huge. When I was a fledgling agency starting out 18 years ago, I didn't employ a lot of those processes. And then when I started doing work for corporate use, and you start getting into like style guides and naming conventions, and this is how our shared directory is set up, I realized just how stinking important it was. Like, if your naming convention was like based on department, folder, file name, and date of creation, and if you didn't follow that, nobody else in the company could find what you had built. It just became like this black hole of data that went somewhere. But to me, I tend to get a little more paranoid about it than others. But yeah, if I'm creating a project, especially for a client, when I give the client the end product, it's typically, these are the naming conventions for files. This is, if we use, if you ever heard of Happy Files for your media bin, I have some clients that use that. Very particular about the folders we create and where assets go and how things are named. It becomes really important, again, depending on the size and the scale of your project. If you had a small project, you wouldn't be asking this question, though. So suffice it to say that you've probably got a fairly large project there. I hope that makes sense. We've got a thanks, makes sense. Look at this. Today is working out pretty dang good, other than the occasional spammer that wants us to increase our viewership with a special code. Let's see, clarify with Delphine. We got that one. Okay, now we're going to move on to Richard, I think. So Richard's got a big question. I don't know if this will fit up on the screen. It says, what I'm looking at doing is creating a 16-hour course that I want to sell. Fantastic. The course to be broken down into multiple modules or chapters. In LifterLMS, we have lessons, then we have sections, and then obviously we have the course. So the sections don't hold any content. They're just a really cool way to like kind of split like modules up inside your course, if that's the way you were thinking. All right. So or chapters with a quiz at the end of each module. Yep. So that's we've quizzes. Quizzes are affixed to lessons, and you can put a quiz affixed to any lesson that you want. You want it to work so that the students have to attend all the required hours. Perfect. You can do that with prerequisites and requirements. So we're good there. They can't fast forward or walk away and let the time continue. So if it's a video course, you're going to want a tool like Advanced Videos. So we have an Advanced Videos add-on. that mandates that the student has to watch the whole video before they can mark the lesson complete and get to the next lesson. So if you're using the length of the video to justify your 16 hours, you're going to want that advanced videos feature so that you can justify that they've watched, and you can take away like viewer controls. So you can take away the ability to fast forward, you can take away the ability to start over, you can restrict the user controls quite a bit. So advanced videos is probably your thing, especially if it's a video course. Let's see, they can't walk away and let the time continue. So if they don't hit continue to the next screen or module, it needs to time out, but the student can start again to pick up where they left off. If you were building a SCORM-based course, so this switches the conversation. If you were building a SCORM-based course using a SCORM course development tool, you would use a tool called GrassBlade and GrassBlade LRS combined with your LifterLMS website, and you would have the controls of SCORM to say so many minutes of inactivity causes the SCORM file to close. They can start where they left off, like all of that kind of stuff. Like when we get into timers and instances with timers, that's where people get confused. So LifterLMS does not come out of the box with a timer for your lesson or there is nothing with LifterLMS that says, is somebody looking at the screen or not? Like we're not a Samsung phone, right? If you have hardware issues that can employ those kinds of mandates, great, but that is not something that's out of the box with Lifter. We also don't have like a lesson timer. That's why I said if you employ advanced videos and you're using the timing of the videos to justify the timing for the course, then that works out perfectly. Not a problem. You don't even need a timer. So there's a couple of things. You might want to try the LifterLMS demo site and try a couple of things. We have advanced videos available in there. It's $1. You get 30 days on a hosted example that's fully populated with sample courses and sample students and all of that. So if that's something you want to test and play around with to see if it meets your requirements, it's great. The next part of that answer is if it doesn't meet your requirements, but you love LifterLMS for everything else. Like if you love LifterLMS and it does everything you need it to do, but you require some kind of a timer or some kind of a script that logs people out after so many minutes of inactivity or something like that, I would encourage you to reach out to somebody like Magic Emily or someone on our experts list, because that would be custom development. And if that's out of your wheelhouse, if that's something that you're not comfortable with, then obviously someone on the experts list would be able to fill in and make that happen for you. Now, we do have a full list of experts, and so I want to go ahead and throw that up. I got it somewhere in here. It was on a list. Maybe someone took it off the list. I don't know. Where is it? Going down. I don't see. Oh, here it is. Boom. So that changes the ticker. Hire an expert. LifterLMS.com/experts. LifterLMS.com/experts. So we'll let that spin for a little while. All right. And so Richard had more things to ask. So let's run through Richard some more. It says, I would use PowerPoint to show videos as well as just speak. No worries. You can run PowerPoint. You can use a tool called Embed Any Document as a third-party plugin, and that'll play PowerPoints directly in the site. Or you could do them as links where people could download the PowerPoint and play it on their device if you wanted. There's different ways to do that. You want it to work so the student has to attend all the required hours, so they can't fast forward or walk away. Continue. Okay, I feel like that was a copy and paste. So if they don't hit the continue button by the time's out, student can pick it up. Yep. I would use PowerPoint and show video as well as just speak. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, use a third-party tool to play the PowerPoints. If you don't want to play the PowerPoints directly in the site and you want them to open on their device, that's easy. Just load the PowerPoints up to the media bin and link those to a button or to a link, and Bob's your uncle. Those come up for you. Again, if your goal is to track somebody's time looking at a PowerPoint, that's not horribly realistic out of the box. You would have to come up with some kind of a timing method. And then let's go here using SkyPilot. I actually love it. Richard Kwan, here it is, found it. Richard Kwan, third part of my ask. Also, the quizzes are graded and scored with record retention, and perhaps a certificate is generated. We do that The free Core Lifter plugin does that. So basic quizzing comes with LifterLMS out of the box in the free version, and certificates are part of the free version. If you upgrade to advanced quizzes, you get more question types that you can give your students. And then you can say, you can have the automation that says when someone successfully completes this quiz, issue this certificate. So you could absolutely do that. And you could do that for free. Newsflash, when I first started using LifterLMS, I was using it for corporate training. I wasn't selling courses. I was assigning students through a corporate website. And so I just used the free LifterLMS core plugin, and literally it does your member management. It does your learning content management. It does vouchers. So if you wanted to issue vouchers to users so they can use a voucher to sign up and get an account, you can do that. And so that I wasn't selling the course. I was selling the course differently, but using a voucher. And then certificates, that's where I was. You go to certificates, and I could have complete access to LifterLMS reporting. And so if you need to pull the information, like who are the students in this class, what's the progress, how many people have gotten a certificate, like it's all there. So, and that's all in the free core plugin. Like I can't stress that enough. Like for free, you get a heck of a lot. When you get to, I want to sell this course, I need a payment gateway, I want to do marketing automation, I want to have cohorts and groups and social learning. Like we have a social learning add-on where people get their own profile, access to different forums that are created for each of the memberships or courses that they're enrolled in. I mean, there's a lot you can do with LifterLMS, but when you look at it from a basic thing out of the box, it does a heck of a lot, and you can really build a sustainable business out of it. Let's see. We've got a new person here well, first off, Compass Rose says, thanks. That's what I was thinking also. All right. So it's nice when people stroll back in. Dennis Bro. Hey, bro. Welcome to the call. My wife works with youth, and it's funny because we're in our 50s, and I catch my wife saying, hey, bro. So, hey, bro. So I've created courses 1 through 6. Right on. When I click on each of the courses, I go to the course page, and the URL ends course 1, course 2, etc. I look under the pages in the dashboard, and I cannot find course 1, course 2, etc. Can you explain what I am not understanding about classifying a page and a URL? I think I can, Dennis. I think I can. It's like a blog post. So you have, if you go to your pages listing, you have a page that's dedicated to showing the post archive, right? And then you can go to each of those individual posts, but you don't have a page for each blog post. Okay, it's like data that fills the templated page that's blog post. If you think about LifterLMS and just the most basics of how it's built like a custom post type, right? And so that custom post type is courses, and then those forward slashes are like the data that's getting dumped into that post type for courses or post type for lessons. Emily is much better versed at this stuff than I am. She does a lot of custom development in the space. I'm more like an implementer and problem solver for business. And Emily's more like hey, let's dive in and rip this apart and build something for you. But I think that's the best way to explain it very clearly and openly is it's a custom post type, and you are building data segments that go into those custom post types, but they're not. WordPress works on 2 things. Everything is either a post or a page. So a page is something that's in your pages menu, and it's static and it stays the same all the time. That page is a page and it's static. A post is something that is dynamically populated by data that you put into place. Did I explain that well?
Yeah.
We have had people in the past that have said, I need the URL that the customer sees to be structured differently. That's basically just like rebuilding the way that the website interprets the data or assigns a URL to it. But it shouldn't be a thought. It really shouldn't be a thought for you or for the user, right? Because the user is using a user interface, right? What do we call that? The user journey. Right? They're visually going through the website. They're not saying, "Oh, I want to go to this page, and then I want to go to this page." That it makes sense that I want to do section 1, section 2, section 3. The users aren't thinking like that. They're using visually identified things within the post to go to the next post, and then it dynamically takes them through the learner journey. So hopefully that makes sense. And I don't know if I said that, Dennis, earlier, but welcome to the call. Welcome to the call, and you're very welcome. And Emily, absolutely. So if here's one thing that it wasn't even that long ago. Emily, I got to tell you, it's got to be, because I've been in the WordPress space since 2004. So I was very much an early adopter. Like I remember when it was very, very clunky. And I can remember downloading themes and like trying to figure them out. Like you would download a theme and you would be like, how does this accordion thing work? And I would go into the theme editor and actually try to change code in the site and play with it and then break things and have to reload things. And things have gotten so much easier and so much better over the last 2 decades. But it wasn't, I bet you it was within the last 10 years, maybe even 8 years. Somebody just said to me one day, they said, well, it's kind of simple. Anything in WordPress is either a post or a page, and pages are static and posts are dynamic. And then ever since then, it's like, it makes you realize. So like if you add the event calendar to your website, just as an example, you add the event calendar, it adds a couple of pages to your page listing. So it'll be like an events page and a registration page and something else. I don't know. But when you go to your admin menu on the side of your dashboard, you're going to see a thing that says events. And then you go in there and that's where you build your events and that's where everything is, right? But that event is like a custom post type, right? So it's a post. Like courses for us is a custom post type. Lessons is a custom post type. And people just build their plugins off of these post types, and that allows you to scale the functionality of your website. And I say it very simply like that because it took someone to say it very simply to me to just make the gears click. Like I used all these tools, but I didn't really understand how they were built, right? And I think that's where a lot of people are in the WordPress space. I think a lot of people just start adding plugins and doing things, but when they go to change things or customize things, they get confused on, hey, where is this? How do I find this? And it's because they don't think of it in terms of posts and pages. All right. I use Pretty Links to change the URL to something easier for users. Yeah, I use Pretty Links too for a couple of things. I have a scheduling tool where the URL is different and it's long, right? And so if someone wants to schedule a half-hour chat with me, they go to manananomas.com/chat, right? And that schedules a half-hour conversation with me. That's a Pretty Link because the real link is like portal.manananomas.com/ a string of numbers and letters, right? And so if I were to send that link to people, they would lose their minds. But if I use Pretty Links and then I rebrand and redirect, we do that. One danger that can happen with Pretty Links is depending, like if you try to attach different SaaS platforms or automations, and then you try to rename the link, and then you do that, sometimes you create an error where it says too many redirects or something like that. So you always want to check. You always want to sample your Pretty Links and your redirections and things like that in an incognito window just to make sure you haven't broken something. Emily, what advice do you have? We got 15 minutes left. What should we cover or fill in the gaps on that we haven't covered yet?
I could speak to, if you wanted to change your course slug, I could show you how to do that in case you hadn't seen it, where you said like course-1. For me, I have LifterLMS Quick Start course is the name of my course. And you can see the slug over here is LifterLMS Quick Start course. So this is probably where you're seeing course-1. If I were to change mine to course 1 and save and view, we're going to see that in the URL structure, course-1, and then whatever we enter here, custom.
That's a good point to bring that home, because I've done that a ton where you write a long title to a page. Like I just made a perfect example. I just made a page that said $47,000 RO profit script, right? But the slug to it just says RO hyphen script, right? So there's a way to really simplify your URLs.
Yeah.
Let's we've got the time. We've got another pre-submitted question. Let's take a look at this one. This one is from Lynn. Lynn asked, can LifterLMS be used to register people to an online conference that will later be used for a self-paced online course? I remember I answered a very similar question like this about a month ago. So when I do this for clients, a lot of people say, well, why don't you just use the event calendar? Or why don't you just, and then an automation that says people that attend the event calendar, like people that register for the event calendar, get added to a list. And then when the course is ready, you create an automation that says anyone that's on this list gets added to this funnel to register or automatically registers them or whatever, using all these tools to do that. And to me, while that works, and while for certain reasons, like if it's an upsell opportunity, you probably do want to leverage your CRM. You want to say anyone that registers for an event gets into my CRM on the list. And then when the course is ready, I want to sell the course. So then I start my communication funnel to upsell the course. That's one use case. But if this is a question that's really like, I'm creating the online conference that will later be used for a self-paced online course, and I'm not selling the course, I'm going to give people that attended the event access to the course, like as a replay or as a VIP, whatever. You can do that much more simply. So what I would do in that situation, again, use case dependent, very use case dependent. I would just create the online event as a membership page. And I would put all the details of the event in the membership page. Hey, sign up for this event as bonuses to this event. You're going to come to the live event. We're going to convert the recordings from that live event into a forthcoming course, and put them all in as a membership. And then maybe there's some blocks in that membership page. So people that haven't registered for the membership yet see some content, and then people that do register for the membership see additional content. So you can use the block restriction to restrict some content. And so that restricted content might be, the actual location or the actual time or the passcode or whatever to get into the event. So there's all kinds of ways to think about what you're going to do with this membership page. When people sign up for the membership, you can sell that membership through the payment gateway that you have set up through LifterLMS. So now you've generated your revenue and you've sold the membership, which is actually an event. But when you take the content from the event and you generate it into a forthcoming course, when you finish the course, you can go back to the membership page and you can put it into auto enrollment, and you can automatically enroll everybody that had that membership for that course when it's done. And so that's a really easy way to go, okay, how do I get everybody that went to the event to get access to the course? And so that's one way to do that. Again, for that use case, if the goal is really to upsell people, then you're probably going to want to leverage a CRM tool that would be like, hey, anyone that's enrolled in this membership, this course is now available. Do you want to buy access to the course? What are your thoughts, Emily? Did I make that harder or easier than it could be?
No, it's pretty straightforward. I was just at a live event where they did a recap, and it was a good way to bring people into the website was to have people who are already in the program refer their friends to the live event. Everyone who was at the live event got enrolled into a course which had a recap of the event and some photos. So it was like a good way to get people into the website.
Yeah. It's interesting because I talk to a lot of people that are focused on revenue. And so they think that everything's got to have a price tag. Everything's got to be restricted. Everything's got to be locked down. Security. And then they, in the next breath, is like, I just have a hard time converting people, and it's like, well, sometimes you got to give them some stuff. Sometimes, if there's a live event and everybody went to the event, and you have a bunch of pictures and stuff, how cool is it that you could, add some kind of gallery feature or something to either a course structure or add to that membership page, even if it's a link to an external gallery, but it's a way to get that connection and get people coming back to the site to link through. So always getting the traffic to come back is like super, super huge. We just had something come in from Compass Rose Consulting, which is more like a question, like a troubleshooting question, Emily. Do you want to take that?
Sure. Let's pull it up on the screen. I had a weird thing happen where I tried to add a new payment plan, but I get a warning that the checkout page is not configured. But I have a lot of courses set up. So a warning that the checkout page might not be configured. Let's see. So we have a purchase, and let us know if you're using WooCommerce or you're using Lifter or another e-commerce platform. I'm assuming you're using Lifter. And so if we don't have our purchase page configured here, like for example, I just deleted my shortcode. I don't know if it'll show my content. I think it won't. I think it'll just be like, here we go. But what could happen is maybe you do have this page with the shortcode, but then it's disconnected from your settings. For your checkout page, you want to make sure you have two things. Number one is that shortcode, and number two is LifterLMS settings and checkout, that you have a checkout page, the page that you have that shortcode on configured here. So if I were to just like close this and save, I'm trying to see if I can reproduce your issue. Let's try it. So when I edit the course, I'll add an access plan down here, add new plan. We'll do monthly, and then $100 monthly pricing, save plans. Let's give it a second. I'm not getting any warning messages, but currently I don't have my page enabled. So if I click on one of these links, it should give me an error. Yeah, I just literally get a page that says 0. And so in my settings, I need to make sure I have purchase selected. But yeah, that's the first thing I would check. Do you have purchase selected, and do you have your shortcode on your checkout page? Because if you do, it should lead us to a scenario where if I go back to my course and I click my link, I guess it didn't work for me. Let me jump to my front end page and do it. Yeah, here it goes. Purchase, and it should give me all the details. So I don't know if you have a screenshot you want to send to support of what your error is, but I would check those two things first if you're using Lifter for checkout.
Yeah. And then Lorenzo says, hey, what is LifterLMS? We'll get to that in just a bit. Matthew Price, here we go. I went over to edit pages, and I just saw all of the pages were not there. They are blank. Is there a way to grab them back? That is kind of a bizarre one.
Yeah, it's never happened to me. I don't know why the pages would be there, but they're blank.
Yeah, I would clear the cache on the website and take another look, because maybe you have a caching issue. If you have access to a control panel in your host, I would clear the cache on the server side as well, and then take another look. Whenever I see a problem where I expect to see something but I don't see it, I usually suspect caching at some level is an issue. Now, if that doesn't work, but you have daily backups, well, then I would just restore yesterday's backup and then take another stare at it. Beyond that, you could put in a support ticket with LifterLMS, or you could inquire with your host as to why your data just all of a sudden seemed to disappear. But unless you've been playing in like PHP MyAdmin and playing with database tables and stuff, you shouldn't just see all your pages disappear. That's bizarre.
Yeah, it is.
Let's see. Just use Lifter. Yeah, just use Lifter. Lorenzo, what is LifterLMS? LMS stands for Learning Management System. So it is a platform where if people have a pre-existing WordPress website, where they want to get a WordPress website, they can add our plugin, our tool, and it allows them to host or sell their own online courses. And of course, we have lots of features and benefits that go with that. And we do this call once a week to go over those features and benefits and answer people's questions. So we can do that. It says here, yeah, they either didn't install, but there's no pages or posts. That's a weird one. Yeah, I would definitely clear the cache and then check with the host or support if you need to. But if there's no pages at all on your website, that's not a LifterLMS thing. That's like a something's broken thing. Because there's other pages outside of LifterLMS that would be displayed if it was a LifterLMS thing. So another thing that you can do is you may have a conflict somewhere if you've added plugins that don't like each other. So you could disable, just temporarily go into your My Plugins, disable all the plugins, and then see if your pages come back. If they do, then you go, okay, now I've got a conflict somewhere. So then you would activate, so you deactivate all the plugins, don't delete them, deactivate all the plugins, see if the pages come back. If they do, then activate all the plugins one at a time to see which one caused your conflict. Is a good way to do that. Lorenzo says, oh, I see. I actually do online courses, but for other people, not by myself. Is there a place where I can try it? Yeah, absolutely. LifterLMS.com/try get you access to a fully populated demo website. So you would get access to all of our premium plugins, add-ons, all of that stuff in that space. And you can try everything right there to see if it meets your needs. If you're making courses for other people, I'm going to assume that you're either like a high-end instructional designer. Maybe you're making things in SCORM or something like that. And then when I talk to instructional designers at that level, it's kind of interesting because they usually don't have any clue where it's going to get hosted or what's going to happen with the course. They just make the courses in SCORM, deliver the zip package to whoever the client is, and then the client is responsible to host and manage and do and sell and all those things. So that I don't think this question is crazy. So if someone's watching us right now and goes, well, that's a crazy question. No, it's not crazy. I mean, there's a whole industry that's instructional design. And so maybe that's where Lorenzo's at. But in the WordPress space, you can build and host your own courses on your own website, and then you're in full control. WordPress is awesome because you own the data inside your own website. It's open source. You don't have to worry about, can I download a list of my users? Can I get my content back? You don't have to worry about those kinds of things or pay the exorbitant fees of a SCORM-based website. If you had a SCORM-based custom website made to host your SCORM content, you'd probably be in the six-figure range to launch your website. But with LifterLMS and then GrassBlade and GrassBlade LRS, you can be up and going, much more affordably. So it's a really good option to do that. So I would recommend checking it out. Go to LifterLMS.com. If you go to LifterLMS.com, Lorenzo, if you go to the top menu, you're going to see an option that says Learn. If you click on Learn and then select the Academy will give you a really good overview of what is Lifter. How do you get started with Lifter? What does it do? What's its capabilities? You can take those courses in there and then you'd be like, I totally get it now. And if that's of interest to you, that would be awesome. I'm not sure. We've got some stuff here. Compass Rose says the page is definitely configured and then says yes to both settings. Error message shows up on course page when I click Setup Access Plan. You might want to try cloning the course and trying to set up the access plan on the clone to see if there's something up with that page or post. But at that point, I would say maybe put in a support ticket. If all the other courses are configured and they all seem to get access plans no problem, then there's some kind of conflict somewhere in the one that you've created last or the most recent one. Let's see. I'm just going through comments and making sure that we're coming home. We are coming home. We're at the top of the hour, folks. I do want to thank you guys. Richard Kwan wrote in something weird. Part 3. Oh, he's asking if we can email him our response. So it's part of the video, Richard. You can see the replay. Folks, Have yourself an absolutely wonderful, wonderful finish to your week. Again, if you are interested in anything that we talked about that's not free today and you'd like to get a discount, you can go to lifterlms.com/AMA-gift, lifterlms.com/AMA-gift. I also want to encourage you to visit the lifterlms.com website directly because we do super aggressive Black Friday, all of November sales. So you want to go and check that out. You might get a better deal going directly to the website and just looking at our Black Friday offerings. Let's see, what else is there to talk about? We have the experts. So if you would like to hire an expert to help you with your Lifter LMS project, you can go to lifterlms.com/experts, lifterlms.com/experts. And with that, I will pass it over to Emily to say goodbye and close us out while I get ready to push a magic button.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining. Check out our website for our Black Friday deals this month. And yeah, I think that's about it. Come back. I think next week we'll be live again at the same time.
Pow!